welcome back, Weebs, to kind of a bittersweet episode, I guess, or a celebration episode. Sure. If you listened to last week's Claymore and Freezing one, at the end we did announce that the next episode will be our last one of the current format. Our reasons being, we feel like we've kind of taken our format of good and bad anime, etc., to its natural conclusion. We've had like a solid almost 80 episode run for it. I guess the podcast has been going, has it been like over 2 years now?
It's got to be something around that, yeah. Somewhere around the 2-year mark.
So yeah, that's pretty solid. And we've kind of like run probably as far as Leah and I could go with just having 2 hosts and like keeping the other, like fitting it into the other aspects of our lives.
That's the big part. It's hard to come up with interesting concepts and discussions when you hardly have time to sleep. So yeah, and secondary. Woo!
I found some of the like ideas I have for the 4Weebs stuff are like kind of moving away from the format anyways, but I can talk more about that in a little bit. I guess I can get into like the kind of logistical elements and like the details of what's going to happen, unless you have anything else you want to say before that.
Just thanks for listening, especially if you've been listening like almost the whole time. Like, we love you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
So, a lot of you probably may know there's a 4Weebs YouTube channel. Right now, we release the episodes on Podbean, and we won't be paying to renew the Podbean subscription this year. So it'll go to about like January or February, I think. And then before then, we'll put all the episodes up on the YouTube page, because once the Podbean subscription runs out, you shouldn't be able to access them on Podbean anymore or iTunes. I don't think you'll be able to access them on iTunes, but it's okay because they'll all be put on YouTube. And if you don't want to stream the episodes off YouTube, I will put download links in the YouTube videos, so you can still like download the MP3 files. I'm planning on just using Dropbox download links. Those seem to be fairly good for just kind of sharing files. You shouldn't need a Dropbox account to download them. So that's the current plan. I will probably start uploading those once the semester's over, or maybe like kind of slowly start getting them out there. So all the whole back catalog of episodes will be available, and any like future content that comes out will also be on the YouTube page, because you never know, might decide to. Well, I definitely want to do another AMV this year, because I had a pretty enjoyable experience making that Berserk AMV back in like spring 2017. So I'd like to make another one to enter into the Otafest contest at least again.
Do it.
Depending on how the next semester goes. I know Otafest is back on the May long weekend, so that'll probably mean I'll have to finish it sooner.
Oh, they changed it back, eh?
Yeah.
Was the attendance down or something?
No, I think it was because like the last 2 years it was happening on Canada Day, and it was just like Stephen Ave was just too much of a cluster heck with like all the Canadian families and all the cosplayers around at once. It's pretty crazy.
That's true. Too much going on downtown in one weekend.
It's a weird, awkward storm.
Street. Yeah.
But yeah, it's still at the Tells Convention Center though, which I like. So I think it's better. Yes. So let's see what else. We would like to have like a fun little reunion episode once this semester's over, when Veda comes back and Becca. So we'd like to get that organized if we can, but we can't make any promises.
But we'll try. You have not officially heard The Last of Us.
Yeah, so the 4Weebs name isn't like dying or going anywhere. We're just not going to release our like regular bad good anime episodes anymore.
And not as regular intervals. So keep an eye on us, basically. You never know.
Yeah. Don't you dare unsubscribe, man. And yeah, Facebook is changing like their policies, or maybe not policies, with the pages, where basically like
Really?
if you're running like a fan page or a community page, artist page, if you don't pay to get your posts boosted, then like basically anyone who follows you is gonna like, they're gonna see like their friends' posts and like paid advertisement posts, and like rarely they'll see like a page post that hasn't been like boosted. So that's pretty shitty.
No kidding. But not surprising, because it's all about money,
and
because it's not enough.
That's kind of one of the reasons we never really pushed put a lot of effort into the Facebook page, because Facebook like really, really favors you if you give them money.
It's so true. So true.
But that this podcast was never like about the big push to become viral or anything.
Or even our attempt at making a bit of money with the Boku no Pico, when no one wanted to pay for our pain.
Well, I was
it was still kind of fun.
On that note, I was looking at our analytics. Let's just have a little segment on this, because that's fun.
Oh, yeah, actually, I'm curious. Yeah.
Our top 10 most downloaded episodes. You can probably guess what the number one is.
Ray Zero.
Yeah. So that one has like over 500 downloads, is the Ray Zero episode.
Wow.
And then the second most downloaded, I was kind of surprised at. Can you take a guess?
No, actually.
It was Shiki and Diabolic Lovers.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I wonder if it was the Diabolic Lovers part.
Yeah, I feel like that was it. So that one's at like just under 300. Huh. And then the third most downloaded is the School Days episode.
Knew it, yeah.
And then the fourth one is actually the Boku no Pico one, so that one like got downloaded almost 200 times, which I thought was like a fun little surprise.
Enjoy our pain. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it goes the Tokyo Ghoul episode, the Haikyuu episode, and then episode 2, I Can't Understand What My Husband Is Saying.
Really? What was that one with again?
Hetalia.
Oh, that would be why. Yeah.
That one's actually tied with the Death Parade. Or no, sorry, the Assassination Classroom and Danganronpa is tied with the Death Parade episode. Then the 10th most one is the Code Geass and Sword Art Online 2. So total right now, which is like kind of slightly frustrating, we have a total of 6,663 downloads. And if we just need 3 people to download like an episode right now, and then we can have 6,666. But
I suppose like our perverted brains could also just disclose that if you take the special episodes out of the equation, we'll have 69 episodes.
Yes, this I don't know if I should label this as just like the final episode or just like episode 69, just because it feels poetic to just end on episode 69.
Enough said.
Technically, this will be the 78th episode we put on here. Yeah, if you follow like the order of like the proper format of like good and bad anime, this will be episode 69, dude.
It's a very, very fitting end.
Yeah. Always got to throw in those perverted jokes whenever we can.
We're all 12 years old at heart. Come on.
You know it.
Yeah. But no, those top 10 results actually seem about accurate to me. The only one that was surprising was, number 2 with Shiki and Diabolic Lovers.
Yeah, it was like that.
I'm kind of surprised.
I'm surprised the Boku no Pico like got in there.
I'm not. I'm surprised how high up it is. I'm not surprised it's the top 10, because I mean, who doesn't want to listen to people cry and scream?
Porn watch-alongs, it's the new thing.
It's pretty notorious, that anime, as I have learned. So
that is true.
Yeah. Speaking of learning, what have you learned? Have you learned anything throughout this podcast?
Learned from the podcast?
Yeah, or like new genres you like, or things you misjudged or not, or
that's a good question. I don't know. Even like if I've been really busy in my life, I've always enjoyed getting an episode of the podcast out there. I find like, because I tried to like do the YouTube thing like a long time ago, And now I don't think it was for me. Like with the podcast, I enjoy just putting out the episodes and like not worrying about getting a ton of views or subscribers and just kind of like putting it out. And
it's a fun time.
I guess like without the podcast, I wouldn't have learned about like so much awesome anime out there. And just like with the podcast was there to help me, like encourage me to just like learn more about anime. And now like so many of like my favorite shows are animes.
Yeah.
And if it weren't for the podcast, I probably wouldn't have that. Like I still would have like watched some anime, but it wouldn't have been to the same extent.
Sure. The same volume. Yeah, I think I also, like for me, I think it's mostly just it's expanded my horizons a little bit. Like for stuff that I would or wouldn't have watched prior. Like I discovered I don't hate all magical girls and school animes.
It's important.
Yeah, that is important, right? Get some magical girls in your life. Even things like My Hero Academia, I probably would not have watched just by reading a synopsis on my own. Like, just, because I found before I very much had I knew what I liked and that's all that I watched kind of thing. Like, judging animes by their descriptions, like a book by its cover, and now I've kind of learned not to do that.
Yeah, good point. Speaking of My Hero Academia, you said you were caught up on it?
Yeah, I watched the full 2 seasons. I got sick last week and couldn't focus on studying, so I was like, I'm just gonna watch Boku no Hero, and I did. I just like binged it in like 2 or 3 days because like I was already halfway through season 1. So, and it's so good. I really, really like it. I like it. Like the style is good. The characters are good. It's fun to watch. And then you said you're halfway through season 2, right, Liam?
Like slightly under halfway.
Slightly. When they kind of start getting into, you see them in season 1 as well, like the villains and stuff like that, like the League of Villains. It's interesting too. So it's just overall, I think like a good anime. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. So. It's like a solid shonen show.
Yeah, exactly. But shonen in its like good ways, not its boring sometimes ways. Yeah. So, and that's the other thing I've learned too is like before, if you were to ask me about what is shonen, I would have just really said like, oh, aimed at like younger males, kind of actiony, Naruto kind of thing. But like, it's so much more than that. So that's kind of been a good lesson because sometimes I'd see shonen and I'd be like in the genres and be like, oh, I don't want to watch that then. But
yeah,
you can't really do that. So I've discovered.
Yeah, I guess like before the podcast, I thought like a lot of anime was just like shonen. But now I've like, discovered that not all anime is like shonen.
Yeah, exactly.
I
never did succeed at making you guys all appreciate shoujo, though. I tried.
Like, Yona of the Dawn is still on my list.
Oh, Yona of the Dawn is amazing. I was going to say that. I'm like, I feel like Yona of the Dawn was my, like, closest attempt. Like, I still remember you guys all watching Say I Love You and being like, it's really stalkery. And I was like, no, it's cute.
True love tastes like fried chicken. On that note, you're talking. So you watched that recently. I did like manage to watch some anime stuff recently. It was I went back to my list. I didn't feel like getting like into an episodic show that was on my list, but there was a Kobayashi's Dragon Maid OVA that was it was kind of like a bonus on like the Blu-ray that came out, and I watched that and it like made me feel all the feels, and because it was like a Valentine's Day episode and it was just so fucking gay and I loved it.
Speaking of gay,
but like also like very
animes.
Friendship lovey.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say like one of my favorite animes that discovered through this podcast was Yuri on Ice.
Oh yeah.
For sure. Oh my god. Loved it. Gonna rewatch it here soon, I think, over Christmas break. Nice. That's what I'll do. Skating.
Should there be some new like Yuri on Ice stuff coming out soon?
I hope so, but I don't know. And
go ahead.
I was speaking of, I don't know why this made me think of it with Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. I feel like if we do have a reunion episode, it should be when I finally watch Madoka Magica.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be.
Still haven't watched it. Still have also not finished Evangelion. So.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation.
I know.
I've also been keeping up with reading Berserk, so I'm on like volume 23 of the manga, I think. And that's like great. It's the highest rated like manga on my anime list, and like it's for a good reason. It definitely deserves to be in like the number one spot.
So, okay, one thing I've always kind of wondered about Berserk, because my only interactions with it have been, the couple episodes through the podcast. Is it very is it dry? Is it purely about action? Does it get into the relationship of characters at all? Like,
I'd say like the main theme of it is like suffering, or like whether like humanity is inherently good or inherently bad. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of like really interesting dialogue for sure. And like the anime meme pages I follow, there's this chart that circulates every once in a while. It's like kind of a line graph of like where the bottom axis is like level of suffering and the top axis is the amount that they deserved it. And they have like all these different anime characters mapped out on it. And like every time I've seen it, Guts is always on like the highest amount of suffering and like the least amount of deserving it. Yeah, it's pretty fun. And Shinji,
that'd be an interesting chart to see.
Yeah, Shinji's always on there. He's like kind of in the middle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting chart. But yeah, Berserk, it's not like, I wouldn't say dry. It's like, it's very dark. Mm-hmm. It's like kind of gives some similar feelings to Game of Thrones, but like it's a little different. But
okay, so there's content. Like there is content.
Oh, yeah,
it's not just like fighting.
But yeah, it's so much more.
Whatever. Like, yeah. Okay.
Definitely 18 plus though. Mm.
Yes, I kind of gathered that from a little bit that I did watch. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Just forget ever watching like the 2016 show though.
Yeah, that's sadly what I had to watch. So.
Rip.
I
also watched back on the OVA thing on my list. I also had, there's a couple like Konosuba bonus OVAs for the first and second season. So I watched those just because, being a completionist, and those were like hilarious. I loved like the first season of Konosuba, and the second season of Konosuba was like really funny as well. Not as good as the first one, but it was still like kind of scratched all that solid like otaku humor.
Yeah, I don't know why I really wanted to keep going on that one, and I still one day would like to, because I really enjoyed the first bit that I watched.
Once you get into like
funny.
Once you get to like the second half of the first season, oh, it's so good. And like the OVA, I was like laughing out loud. It was so good.
So, I'll have to go back to it.
And that's all the anime stuff I've watched. Outside of like the stuff we've had to watch for the podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping to like get back in on the Boku no Hero train, because there's season 3 of that's coming out at some point. So I'd like to be caught up before that comes out.
Speaking of OVAs, Becca and I were really excited about this one, and I did watch the first 3 episodes. Was the Magus's Bride?
Oh, the Magus's Bride. Yeah.
Yeah. The animation is like just so flippin' beautiful, and like I know I talked about it in our was it the summer?
Yep.
Watch list, yeah. And I'm a little confused because some people told, like, I've read that that's all that's coming out, and then I've read that it's kind of the OVA to watch before the actual series comes out. So I hope it's actually going to be a series, because I would love to watch it. So that's kind of my list of future things to watch, assuming it exists.
Yeah.
And isn't Code Geass supposed to be coming out, or is it already
there's
out?
new stuff. My anime list gave me a notification about that. New stuff for that coming out soon. I haven't looked into it yet, though. But
yeah, I'm curious to see how that's going to go.
For that one, I might like wait for a few episodes to come out first and wait for some reactions. So, yeah, because I'm not sure.
Just because based off the ending of the original, spoiler alert here for a couple seconds, listeners, like the whole like, is the Lelouch dead? Is he alive? Like that kind of stuff. Like I kind of liked that it was left a little mysterious.
It was just a really good ending.
Yeah, it was. It was a really good ending. Like I know a lot of people were really pissed, but I really liked how they ended it. I thought it was very like thought provoking kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go. We'll have to see.
For sure. Kind of on that note of recent anime, I can't go a few episodes without mentioning Digibro, of course. He released a video last week called There Is Too Much Anime, and he was talking about this fall season that started up, and there's like 60 shows that start, right? Mm-hmm. Which is pretty crazy, and it's like, who's gonna, like, so many of those shows not like barely anyone cares about, too. Yeah. And I won't like try to explain what happens in his whole video, but he basically talks about like the anime industry and how, and he's talked about this in his previous videos, where like animators don't really get paid a lot, especially like the kind of lower on the ladder animators. And he was kind of like theorizing, it's like, what if like the energy that went into creating like all 60 of these shows, what if it was like more consolidated and went into, like 20 shows instead, and like shows that more people would like tend to care about. And like the kind of a lot of the problems in the industry would be like, it's hard for at least Western anime fans to support the anime industry. Mm-hmm. Like we can pay for our Crunchyroll subscription, but that's like, $8, and like a lot of that goes to Crunchyroll.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How much of that is actually contributed.
You can pay for like your Amazon Go or whatever. I don't know if we get that in Canada, or your Funimation, but like how much of that money actually goes back to the animators' pockets. And it's like, it probably like a lot of the money just goes to the distribution company, like Universal Japan.
Exactly.
And even and then a lot of people say like, oh well, you can buy like merchandise or buy Blu-rays, and yeah, like some people, really dedicated people, do buy the merchandise and Blu-rays, but it's so expensive to get it here, especially like a lot of time the anime I find where I would actually want to own the Blu-ray, the cost is just like way too much for me to like ever justify buying that on Blu-ray.
Well, yeah, you're spending like $80 on like a 12 episode anime, and you're like, oh god, like
yeah. It's like, so I gotta, and like when I was in Japan, yeah, I could like finally buy some affordable anime, but there's like usually no English subtitles, so
yeah, so you're kind of hooped.
And even then, it's like when I buy this Blu-ray, it's hard to like feel that a lot of that money that you just spent on it is like going back to the animator. But,
and the writers, and just the whole kind of studio in general, right? True. And it is unfortunate. Like I agree with what Digibro was saying. With what if the energy that was put into all of these was put into
just like a smaller number of shows,
like small, but make better quality. And like it is unfortunate because even things like the episode we did with Gangsta, which not Brenna, oh my gosh, Veda and I both loved, right? But the studio went out of business, and that's why they're never going to be finished. And like that was like amazingly animated. It was a really good storyline. Like it was one of my like the best animes I'd seen in a long time. And because the studio doesn't have any funding, that's it. It's like the end of a really good anime. And then you have the really big popular monopolized studios putting out really shitty anime, and they still make $8 bajillion.
I don't know if it'd be $1 bajillion, but yeah, they can still keep churning it out for sure. And Digibro said in the past, he kind of like wishes that there was like, a Patreon for like your favorite anime studios. And like Studio Trigger kind of did that with the first Little Witch Academia OVA was created through the Japan Young Animators Project, which is like a government-sponsored thing. But that one, like the reception for it was good enough that to make the second OVA, they actually like had a Kickstarter for it. They're like, oh, well, we want to make a second one, but like, let's gauge the interest. So they did a Kickstarter, and like there was a ton of interest for a second OVA for it. So much so that they they've overfunded it to the point where it could be like an hour-long OVA instead of like a standard 22-minute one.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of like shows, that there's an appetite out there for that kind of stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
but, like I can think of several shows that like I would, love to see more of. And
like
never will.
Like if even if it was like Studio Madhouse or Studio Bones, if they like had a Kickstarter page for an anime that looked like super promising, it's like then I would like donate $10 or $20 to that and like it would feel like my money is going somewhere. But then like the small amount of anime DVDs or manga I have bought, like I've bought, from random like big sales and community centers and stuff like that, where it's like, you don't really feel like the money's going back to any of the creators.
Yeah, because I mean, even the majority, if not almost all of the anime I own on like DVD and Blu-ray, it's all Funimation.
Yeah, or like bought used.
Because that's the only kind of segue there is from like anime to Canada.
Yeah, and Funimation can like sometimes be affordable.
Yeah, exactly. And even then you got to buy the like recycled ones.
Yeah.
Like it's just, it's really hard to access and support the community. Like not only because you're Canada. Like a countries away, but also just because, like it's not accessible.
Well, it's like it's like when I did make a Crunchyroll at the start of last winter season, I'm like, I'm finally going to make a Crunchyroll. I can watch anime for legit. And then it's like, I want to watch Little Witch Academia, but it's not on Crunchyroll. It's Netflix has the rights. It's like, Netflix isn't releasing it until like the first 13 episodes are dubbed. I'm like, well, for fuck's sakes, like, I want to watch this as it airs because that's like the big thing is like Crunchyroll is a simulcast and that's like the hype. But I like literally, there's no legal way for me to do this. So So that's pretty frustrating. And like there's Funimation, Crunchyroll, and Amazon streaming service, which I can't remember what it's exactly called.
I don't remember either.
Then there's Netflix. And so it's like I don't want to pay for like 4 different subscription services to like watch to get access to like all the anime I want. And anyways, that we can rant about this for a long time, but towards the end of this Digibro video, he brings up this group of people called the Flying Colors Foundation, and I looked into them a bit more, and they're supposed to be like the voice of the anime community. It's still pretty new there. Apparently their website is still kind of in the works, and it's like a nonprofit organization that's kind of like looking to solve this issue of like kind of the disconnect between like Western fans and like anime creators. And then kind of like digging more into the Flying Colors Foundation. It kind of started, there was like some Indiegogo or like charity campaigns. There's the 2016 Animator Dorm Project, where basically they raised a bunch of money to set up like kind of an affordable dorm complex for like kind of like beginner industry animators, so they can provide like cheap places for them to live where the rent is a lot cheaper. So they can kind of live there on their low like animation wages, and they have like other animators living there with them. And if you depending on how much you donate, you can get like a digital illustration commissioned for you, or like if you donate a lot of money, you can like come to their monthly like dinner party in Japan. Yeah,
that's kind of awesome, actually.
So there's like 2 different charity campaigns for them. I'm not sure if like they're still open. I think one of them is, but it looks like something that's actually being successful. So I wanted to bring up that Digibro video and the Flying Colors Foundation because it kind of like sparked. It's like the first kind of charity thing I've seen in a while where I'm like actually kind of motivated to do it, because it's like something, anime is like a pretty big part of my life at this point, and like the issues Digibro brings up, it's like that actually is like pretty frustrating. And then
it is, maybe especially for the poor people working in the industry.
Even stuff
it's like a lose-lose for everyone.
Like in the summer or something. I think Digibro, he like said his like the best anime of 2016 according to him was this one called Girlish Number, and he made like a long video about it, and then it got like taken down for they got like flagged for copyright and taken down. And then in Digibro's vlogs, he was basically complaining. It's like, I just made a video that's like saying why your show is the best and why people should watch it, but because of like your huge corporation and these algorithms, and I'm just the one person and you're a huge company, and you're basically preventing all this free advertisement from happening and like hurting me. And it's on YouTube now, but that's just a whole nother weird
that is
weird
a whole
area.
other huge topic that could be discussed even outside of the realm of anime.
So yeah, that's some interesting stuff I think's going on right now. Maybe some cool things will happen soon with that. So definitely you could check out Digibro's video called "There's Too Much Anime," and just check out him in general. And then from there you can kind of go on to see the Animator Dorm project. I think there's one on Indiegogo and one on Generosity, which is also run by Indiegogo. And then there's flyingcolorsfoundation.org. And apparently some new stuff from that will be coming out soon. I'm not sure. And that's Colors with a U. Oh, wait, no, it's Colors without a U, spelled the American way.
Damn it. I was like, yeah, Canada.
No.
Oh, fine.
Yeah.
Look at you, Liam, being an advocate for us weebs.
I try. I just want to support, more cool shows coming out and less shows like Freezing, I guess.
Yeah. But you know what? Sometimes it's those kinds of shows that make all the money, right? So, yeah, sad truth.
So I think that's like the main topics I wanted to cover for this final episode.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to really say. I mean, I had fun doing this. I got to see a lot of good anime, a lot of really bad anime. So kind of just teaches you
so much
a little bit more about what's out there and what you like and what you don't.
Yeah, and if we ever get the chance to do a reunion episode or just throw out some more content, we'll be happy to do that, and it'll probably be on the YouTube page. But you probably won't see all the episodes go up on YouTube until like end of 2017, early 2018. So
yeah, and even though we don't post a lot, I mean, you could follow us on Facebook and check our page every so often, see if we got any updates. But yeah.
I should maybe I'll just throw like my email in the description of this episode just for a more reliable way to contact. We'll figure something out.
Yeah. We'll be back at some point in some way or form.
All right. Well, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for staying this far, listening to all the episodes. Yeah, it definitely ended up being more well receptive than I had anticipated, so that was pretty awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, until next time, Weebs.
Yeah. Don't miss us too much. We'll
sayonara.
Sayonara.
Veda, do the gurgly noise.
Oh god, okay, like the wow, that one?
Yeah, that one.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay. I picked the animes this week, so a quick overview of how things work here at 4 Weebs. There's 4 of us, so there's 4 marbles, there's 3 whites. Yes, I know.
I'm feeling especially dad jokey today. I apologize in advance.
It's okay.
Just say
Go pee with a boner,
4.
Leah.
It just, why would you get softer?